So, if you have half an eye on the software synthesizer scene, you will know that Arturia has released V Collection 9. In this video, I am going to give you 7 reasons why I think you should buy it, or at least consider it. Now, I have V Collection 8, and I am also going to tell you why I am certainly not at the present moment, going to upgrade to V Collection 9. It's not all about money, but since I mentioned the M word, I also want to discuss money and pricing with you, because I think that is so important. As musicians, most of us have a continual struggle with space and with money. I will also mention a little sort of hack, which, if it's still available, will allow viewers in the UK and in Europe to save a little bit more money than the advertised price. More of that later. Now, as you're watching this, you probably know what Arturia's V Collection is. Just in case you're a bit hazy, it is a collection of Arturia's software synth emulations, and they have traditionally been emulations of classic synth hardware. That has changed a little bit in V Collection 9, which we'll get to in a moment. Now, there are already dozens and dozens of videos about the V Collection and V Collection 9 as well. Overviews, reviews and demonstrations. So I am not going to clutter that marketplace anymore with one of my own. But if you want an overview or some in-depth information about the V Collection, you can do no better than to check out Arturia's YouTube channel. Now, it has some marketing fluffy promo videos which probably cost thousands and don't tell you anything, but there are also a lot of very useful and helpful informational and demonstration videos. Now, the V Collection 9 currently contains 33 instruments according to Arturia. Some sources say they're 32. I shall explain why there may be some confusion in a moment. These are software emulations of classic synthesizers. So reason number 1 for buying the collection would be that these are instruments which you are extremely unlikely ever to get to play, let alone own. So if you like synthesizers and synthesis, you immediately get access to hundreds and thousands of sounds which you would never otherwise be able to play. Now, just to make one thing clear, and these are obviously my own personal opinions, I am really not bothered how accurate these simulations or emulations are. By all accounts, they are pretty close, but some channels specialize in doing comparisons between vintage instruments and software emulations. So if that is important to you, do check them out. But we have a saying, or we had a saying back in the day when we were doing rehearsals, which was, it's near enough for jazz. So whether these are 99% accurate or 95% accurate, or however accurate they may be, the most important feature for me is that the sounds they produce are inspiring. And with such a collection of instruments, I really do find the sounds here to be inspiring. Now, the second reason I would suggest is the user interface, the GUI. Now, these are, in my opinion, absolute works of art. They look superb. And you may think, what has that got to do with making music? Well, in my opinion, if something looks good and invites you to want to play with it or tweak it, then that is going to encourage you to use it and to get the most out of it. So looking at some of these user interfaces, I really just want to reach out and move a slider and turn a knob. Now, I know you can't do that because it's just software, but that does bring us on to the next point. However, just before we get there, the GUIs are resizable. You can't click and drag to resize it, but there is an option to select various percentage size values. So if you have a small resolution screen or a really high resolution screen, you can adjust the size of the GUI to suit your display. So reason number 3, which is connected to reason 2, is that the controls on the interface can be mapped to any MIDI controller. But more than that, if you have an Arturia keyboard, when you select an instrument, many controls are automatically mapped to the controllers on the keyboard. I have a Minilamp Mark II, which is very inexpensive, and I got it specifically to control the instruments in the V Collection. Now, you can't control every parameter, but the system maps what it thinks are going to be the most popular and the most common and the most useful parameters to the controls. Now, in addition to that, the instruments are NKS compatible. Now, NKS stands for Native Control System, and it is a system invented and developed by Native Instruments, and if an instrument is NKS compatible, it can be loaded into Native Instruments Complete Control System. Now, Complete Control acts as a sort of shell program for Native Instruments' own instruments and also third-party instruments. So you can run the V Collection inside Complete Control, and this is the point, use the features of Complete Control and a Native Instruments keyboard. I have an S49 to control the instruments. Now, as well as that, Complete Control lets you select and filter sounds, and it gives you a little preview of the sound when you select a preset. And this brings us nicely onto reason number 4, which is the presets. If you browse through the instruments in the V Collection, you will find several which do not natively support presets. But thanks to the marvels of software technology, you can, of course, save presets in a software emulation. So instruments like the Moog modular system and the Mini Moog and the Yamaha CS80, which only had a very limited number of presets, now have dozens and dozens of presets. So if you are a preset and tweak sort of person, which is what I am rather than a complete sound designer, then you have dozens and dozens, indeed thousands of instrument presets ready to go at your fingertips. Now, 2 more things here. When you get the V Collection, you get a program called Analog Lab V, and this lets you browse all of the presets in all of the instruments, and you can also elect to edit them there as well. So if you just want to sort through the presets and play them and see what they sound like, then this is a great way to do it. Now, there are around 14,000 presets in the V Collection 9. So I was just calculating very, very roughly, if you spent 1 minute listening to each preset and spent 8 solid hours a day doing that 7 days a week, it would take you around a month to listen to every single one. So if you do get the V Collection, it is going to keep you busy for a long, long time. Now, reason number 5. Who likes reading manuals? Hands up. It's a half a hand. I actually don't mind reading manuals. I used to review hardware and software instruments and computer bits and pieces back in the day, and really to get into a piece of equipment you really need to read the manual to make sure that you are not missing anything and you have all the information and know what all the features are and what they do. Now, there are manuals for all these instruments, but they also have in-app tutorials. So if you don't like to read manuals and you don't want to read these manuals and find the interface sometimes a little bit complex, then you can use the in-app tutorials to get yourself off to a really good start. So reason number 6, some of these instruments are monophonic, but again, due to software programming, Arturia has made them polyphonic, or at least you have the option to play them polyphonically. So if you take some of your favourite mono synths, imagine being able to play them polyphonically. So this is quite interesting when you apply this to the Moog modular system or the Mini Moog, for example. And finally, reason number 7, again through software, Arturia has added things like sequencers, effects and modulation options which were not available on the original instruments. So again, this greatly expands the range of sounds that these instruments can produce. So that's the 7 big overall reasons why I think the V Collection is a super collection of instruments, and why I think It is well worth considering adding to your collection if you don't already have it. Now let's have a look at the new instruments in V Collection 9 and have a look at some pricing, and I will explain why at the moment at least I am not going to upgrade. So typically, particularly over the last year or two, each new V Collection has 4 new instruments. V Collection 9 includes Korg's MS-20, the SQ-80 and 2 of Arturia's original synthesizers, the Augmented Strings and Augmented Voices. It also includes 4 rebuilt instruments. They have rebuilt, apparently from the ground up, the Yamaha CS-80, one of my favourite synthesizers, the Prophet 5, the Prophet V and the piano. Now, I mentioned earlier that there was a little bit of confusion whether there were 32 or 33 instruments in this collection. Previously, the Prophet V and the Prophet 5 had been combined into one instrument. I'm assuming that this sort of made sense because they do have some overlap, perhaps even in the software code. Now they have been split off into their own instruments. So you have the Prophet V, the Prophet 5 and also the original combined Prophet 5/V. Now it's also worth mentioning that although these are rebuilt instruments, the original ones still remain for compatibility purposes. So if you have a piece of music which uses one of these originals, then these new ones are not going to mess up your recording. So do I want these 4 new instruments and the rebuilt instruments? Well, let's take these one at a time. Now the Korg MS-20, a classic of course, but I have sort of fallen out of love with it. Now I may make another video about this because I have been playing with the demo version, but we'll see. However, at the moment this is not a major thing on my radar. Now, when I upgraded to the previous version, Collection 8, I had Collection 6. And I didn't upgrade to version 7 because I was only interested in 2 of the instruments, not the 4 instruments which were in version 7, so it didn't seem worthwhile. However, late last year, 2021, Arturia made me an offer I couldn't refuse, which was to upgrade to V Collection 8, and they were going to throw in the SQ-80. So to me that was a reasonable deal, so I upgraded and got the SQ-80. So now V Collection 9 has got the SQ-80. I already have that, so that is one instrument I don't need. Now a few weeks ago, Arturia released Augmented Strings Intro, and this was a totally free download. Now I'm not sure if this is still available as a free download. If it is, go get it because it's free and it's really very good. Now I can't give you a direct link because Arturia's website seems to shuffle its links and URLs around, but if you go to the downloads and manuals section you will find an entry for Augmented Strings Intro if they haven't removed it, and you may be able to download it there. Now whether you need a full license for that or not, I don't know. The intro software certainly was totally free. However, in V Collection 9 you get the full version of Augmented Strings and also a full version of Augmented Voices. I don't think there was an intro free download for that. Now this is quite interesting because the V Collection has traditionally been a collection of classic synth emulations, and these are new software instruments. Now the V Collection is Arturia's and the company can of course put anything it wants into there, but I thought it was a little bit strange putting these 2 soft instruments in with the collection. And I was thinking, well, why don't they put their other software instruments in as well, such as Pigment, and that would make it a far more appealing purchase. So given what I already have and my interest in some of the other bits and pieces, yes, I would like the new rebuilt CS-80, the Prophet, yeah, fine, the piano, well, I love the sound of the piano. This is a superb emulation, but I really do have pianos coming out in my ears. I'm just pausing for a second in case Special Effects wants to make that more visual. I don't know that I really want to pay for yet another piano. I have lots of piano sample libraries. There are dozens of free pianos out there. I have Arturia's own Wurlitzer and Rhodes piano and stage piano in the V Collection. This is obviously a personal choice, but that's just how I feel about it. So basically, there is not an awful lot here that I really want to pay an upgrade price for. So let's talk about price. Now, the full price of V Collection 9 is €599. At the moment, it is on offer at €499. And if you want to do some sums, that means each individual, let's give Arturia the benefit of the doubt and say there are 33 instruments in the collection. So that means each instrument is costing just over €15. Now, I have to say that I think that is a veritable bargain. Of course, it's only going to be a bargain to you if you want all these instruments. If you are only going to use one or two or half a dozen, then it's probably not such an attractive proposition. So how much is the upgrade? Well, I can't find the upgrade price on the Arturia site, but I do seem to recall it was around €149. Maybe I'm just not very good at this internet malarkey. But it does say to check your account, because sometimes you will get a special offer from Arturia. So I checked my account and it is still €149. I didn't seem to be getting any allowance for already having the SQ80. So let's just have a look at this upgrade price. Assuming we are getting 4 new instruments at €149, that means each one is costing us over €37. Now that's a far cry from the €15 that you get with the package. And even if you assume you're getting, say, 5 instruments, that's still over €30. So this is more than double. People who have already got a V Collection are being asked to pay per instrument more than twice what a new buyer would pay. Now, I sort of think this is a bit unfair, because Arturia has not given any credit to existing customers who have bought their products and supported the company. And people who upgrade are paying year after year after year. So I think a little bit of acknowledgement there would be much appreciated by existing users. So what do you think a fair price would be? So if we base the upgrade price on a comparative cost of €15 per instrument, that would make it €60 for 4 instruments. So that would put upgraders on an even par to people who are buying the instrument for the first time. If you want to play with the figures a little bit and say there are 5 new instruments here, and even if we look at the full price option, that still gets us somewhere below €100. Now, of course, €15 per instrument is what you would actually pay if you bought the full bundle, but I know in practice it's only going to be of value if you're going to use the instruments. Now, you can buy each one of these instruments individually if you don't want the whole bunch, so let's have a look at that, but be prepared for a bit of a shock. Now, you can see as we scroll through the list that the new Korg MS-20 is €199. The updated piano is €249. Now, as we scroll through, we can see that some of the more recent instruments are €199, and some of the earlier instruments, in fact, I think all of the earlier instruments are €149. Now, I know Arturia has actually updated virtually all of these instruments, and that is another, perhaps, reason number 8, which I didn't mention. Arturia does not give you something and leave you with it. They do seem to provide continual updates. So even if you are only interested in 2 or 3 of these instruments, let's say 3 instruments, this is going to cost you as much as the entire bundle. So it is just really not a value proposition at all. Now, I think it's a bit of a shame that these instruments are slightly cheaper, but obviously Arturia wants you to spend €500 or €600 on the complete bundle. And to me, it just really does not make sense to buy any of these instruments individually, unless, of course, you only want one. And even then, for one instrument, when you compare it to the price of the bundle, it is not good value for money. Now, at the beginning, I did say I would show you a little hack which might enable people in the UK and in Europe to save a few more pounds or euros. And I used this last year to buy my upgrade to V Collection 8. And quite simply, Arturia on its website quotes the same price in euros and dollars. Now, I think this is obviously location dependent, so I'm not 100% sure if it will work in Europe or in the UK now. Arturia may have changed the system, but on your system, if you see the same price quoted in euros/dollars, then you should be able to buy in dollars. Now, 6 months ago, the pound was very strong against the dollar, so this was quite a large saving. As of making this video in May 2022, the pound has lost a lot of value against the dollar and a little bit against the euro as well. But I still think it's still worth doing if you can. You do need to be aware of any exchange fees which are involved. Now, I normally pay for things through PayPal. They do not give you a very good exchange rate, but you should still get a better deal buying in dollars than you will buying in pounds or euros. But check it out before you buy. So how do you do this? Well, essentially just change your location. The Arturia system looks at your location and sees how close you are to France. The UK is far closer to France than America, so it assumes, of course, that I want to pay in euros rather than in dollars. So essentially what you need to do is to go into your account and change your location, and then you will get the option to pay in dollars. Now, if this sounds a little bit complicated, it isn't. I have actually made a video about this when I did it last year, so a card should pop up here somewhere, and I will leave a link to that in the description. So if you want to make a purchase, check out the link, check out the video, and see if you can save a few more pounds or euros. Now, this assumes that Arturia hasn't changed its sales system since I made the video. But I am sure someone will let me know in the comments if this still works or if it doesn't. So that's it for this video. I think I've said just about everything I want to say about the V Collection. I think it's a super collection. I think as a bundle it is extremely good value for money, and if you like synthesizers and synthesis, it is certainly something which I think is worth considering. I know it's a bit of a hefty lump to shell out in one go, but it will keep you busy and occupied probably until V Collection 10. So if you have enjoyed this video, perhaps you would like to consider subscribing to the channel, ringing the bell. Thank you, so you get informed of new videos as soon as I release them. Clicking the big thumb is also a big help for the YouTube algorithm or some technical thing like that, and that is much appreciated. And talking of appreciation, I do appreciate you spending time watching my videos, so for that, thank you very much indeed, and I will see you again soon in the next one.